If you wake up at night to use the bathroom, stop right there. Before you scroll past this, I need you to hear something that most doctors will never say out loud in a short appointment and that most health videos get completely wrong. Because what I am about to share with you is the exact reason this keeps happening to you every single night. And I can promise you right now, it is not what you think. Every night, millions of people wake up 2, 3, even 5 times just to go to the bathroom. They lose sleep, they lose energy, they lose the ability to actually recover during the night. And the next morning, they feel like they never really rested at all. And here's the part that almost nobody ever tells you. In most of those cases, your bladder is completely fine. Let that sink in for a second. Your bladder is not the problem. Which means if you have been trying to fix your bladder, drinking less water, cutting fluids at night, avoiding certain foods, or taking supplements designed for bladder health, you have been targeting the wrong organ the entire time. That is not your fault. That is how this condition has been explained to people for decades. But it is wrong. And tonight, I am going to show you exactly why I am Dr. Megan Foster. And after years of working with patients who came in exhausted, frustrated, and convinced that something was seriously wrong with their bladder or their prostate, I can tell you this directly. That assumption in most cases is incorrect. The real cause is quieter, it is more hidden, and it happens every single day without you noticing it at all. Most treatments focus on the symptom. This video is about the actual mechanism underneath it, the thing driving the symptom in the first place. And once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. So let's go back for a moment. Think about a time, maybe years ago, maybe longer, when you slept through the night without any interruptions. You closed your eyes, you drifted off, and you woke up in the morning feeling like you had actually recovered. No checking the clock at 2 a.m. No dragging yourself down a dark hallway. No lying back down and staring at the ceiling, wondering if this is just going to be your life now. Now compare that to recently. You fall asleep. Maybe you get an hour or two in. Then something wakes you. You go to the bathroom, you come back, you try to fall asleep again, and then it happens again. And by morning, you feel like you spent the night fighting something instead of resting. Here is the question that almost nobody asks. Nothing dramatic changed overnight. You did not suddenly develop a weak bladder at 47. You did not suddenly grow a problem. So what actually changed? Most people quietly accept the answer that gets handed to them. That is just aging, and I understand why. It is a clean, easy explanation. It requires nothing from you. It lets you off the hook and the doctor off the hook at the same time. But here's the truth. Waking up repeatedly at night is not something your body is designed to do. It is not a natural part of getting older. It is a signal. It is your body communicating something specific. And signals always have causes, which means if you understand the cause, you can change the outcome. That is what this video is actually about. Let me explain this in the simplest, most practical way I can. No complicated terms, no medical jargon that goes over your head, just the real mechanism explained clearly. Imagine your body as a system of pipes and reservoirs. During the day, you are upright. Gravity is pulling fluid downward. That fluid slowly collects in your lower body, primarily in your legs and ankles. You may not notice it much during the day. Maybe your socks leave a slight mark by evening. Maybe your legs feel a little heavy or puffy by the time you sit down at night. But that fluid is sitting there held in the tissues of your lower body by the simple fact that you are standing or sitting up. Now here is the critical moment. The one. When you lie down at night, that stored fluid has nowhere to stay. The gravitational pull that was keeping it in your lower body is suddenly gone. So it moves. It shifts back into your circulation back toward your heart, and your body reacts to that immediately. Your heart senses the increased pressure from all that returning fluid. It detects the change and it triggers a chain reaction. It signals your kidneys to start removing that extra fluid from your system. Your kidneys respond by producing more urine. Not because your bladder is failing, not because you drank too much water at dinner, but because your body is actively trying to manage a fluid shift that happened the moment you laid down. That urine fills your bladder. Your bladder sends a signal and you wake up. This is the mechanism. This is what is actually happening. Clinical research on a condition called nochuria, which is the medical term for waking up at night to urinate, confirms this pattern clearly. In a significant percentage of cases, especially in adults over the age of 40, nighttime urination is driven primarily by fluid redistribution, not by bladder dysfunction. Studies that have followed older populations over multiple years have found that nighttime urine production increases even when people do not increase their fluid intake during the day. They are drinking the same amount, but they are producing more urine at night. The reason correlates strongly with circulation, with how fluid is managed throughout the day, and with cardiovascular factors, not with bladder health. And here is what makes this so important. Bladder-targeted treatments, whether that is medication, supplements, or bladder training, often fail completely when this underlying mechanism is not addressed first. Not because those treatments are useless across the board, but because they are solving the wrong problem for many people. Same symptom, completely different origin. So now that you understand what is actually happening, let me walk you through the specific factors that make this worse and, more importantly, what you can do about each one. I am going to go through these in order from the most commonly misunderstood mistake that almost everyone makes to the one change at the end that most people have never heard, and that can make a noticeable difference within just a few nights. Before I get there, I'm genuinely curious. How many times are you waking up at night right now? Once? Twice? More than that? Drop it in the comments below. You will quickly see just how many people are dealing with the exact same thing. You are not alone in this. And more importantly, you are not stuck with it. Let's talk about the first factor, fluid timing. Most people who are struggling with waking up at night make the same logical leap. They think the problem is that they are drinking too much. So the solution they figure is to just stop drinking water after a certain time in the evening. Cut it off at 6, cut it off at 5. Some people stop drinking anything after lunch. And here's the problem with that approach. It does not work well. And in some cases, it actually makes things worse. Yes, the timing of when you drink does matter, but the issue is not that you are drinking too much in the evening. The issue is that most people are drinking too little throughout the earlier parts of the day and then trying to catch up in the hours before bed. Your body processes fluids based on when they enter your system. If you are well hydrated throughout the morning and early afternoon, your body has time to process and use that fluid during the hours when you are upright and active. The kidneys do their filtering work. The fluid gets used. The waste gets cleared. But if you are skipping fluids all day and then drinking a large amount in the evening because you are finally thirsty or because you are sitting down to dinner and having multiple glasses with your meal, all of that fluid arrives in your system right as you are heading towards sleep. Your body has not had time to process it, and then when you lie down, it compounds the fluid redistribution that is already happening. The fix is not to cut water aggressively. The fix is to front-load your hydration. Drink more in the morning, drink consistently through the midday hours. Let your body process fluid when it is designed to process it, when you are upright, active, and during your peak metabolic hours. And here's the common mistake people make when they hear this. They think front-loading means they have to drink an overwhelming amount in the morning. That is not the case. You do not need to flood your system at 7 a.m. You just need to be consistent and intentional earlier in the day, rather than saving most of your fluid intake for dinner and beyond. Cutting water too aggressively in the evening is actually a problem on its own. When you become even mildly dehydrated at night, your body responds by releasing certain hormones that actually cause your kidneys to produce a more concentrated urine that can irritate the bladder lining, increase urgency, and make the waking up problem worse, not better. So the goal is balance with a shift in timing, not restriction. Now, let's talk about the second factor, and this one surprises people every time I bring it up because most people think they have already ruled it out. Salt. When people hear salt, they immediately think about adding salt to their food at the table. They think about consciously salting meals, and most people say, "Oh, I don't do that. I don't add extra salt. I eat pretty normally," and they assume that means their sodium intake is under control. But here is what that assumption misses. The amount of sodium that is already hidden in everyday food is enormous, and most of it comes from foods that do not even taste particularly salty to us. Bread, cheese, sauces, canned soups, processed deli meats, packaged snacks, even things like breakfast cereals and certain condiments carry a significant sodium load that most people are completely unaware of. And sodium has a very specific effect on fluid. It holds it. Sodium draws fluid into your tissues and keeps it there. That is part of its normal function in the body. But when you have a high sodium load from the day, particularly from a dinner that contains any of those hidden sodium sources, it means more fluid gets retained in your body's tissues during the evening hours. And then when you lie down and the fluid redistribution begins, there is more fluid to move, more fluid shifting back into circulation, more for your kidneys to deal with, more urine being produced while you sleep. The practical implication of this is straightforward. If you are eating a dinner that is heavy in processed foods, restaurant food, packaged sauces, or any of those hidden sodium sources, you are setting up the conditions for more nighttime urination, even if you did not consciously add a single grain of salt to your meal. The common mistake here is thinking, I didn't eat anything salty tonight, when in reality, the sodium load was already there, just not obvious. Your tongue adapts to the baseline sodium in your food over time. Foods that are actually quite high in sodium can stop tasting salty to you because you are used to them. Paying attention to this even slightly, shifting toward dinners that are less processed, more whole with fewer packaged or restaurant components can have a meaningful impact on the fluid load your body has to process overnight. Now, here is where the shift starts to happen. These first two areas, fluid timing and sodium, are important foundations, but they are adjustments. They reduce the size of the problem. They do not fully address the core mechanism we talked about, which is the fluid redistribution that happens when you lie down. For that, we need to go one level deeper. Let me explain what is happening in your body in the hours before you go to bed. You have been sitting during the evening. Maybe you had dinner, you watched something, you relaxed. And during all of those sitting hours, fluid has been slowly accumulating in your lower legs. Remember the mechanism? Gravity pulls fluid downward. It collects. By the time you are ready for bed, you may have a meaningful amount of fluid sitting in your legs and ankles that has built up over the course of the entire day and evening. Now you get into bed. You lie flat, and all of that fluid and that everything that accumulated begins to redistribute at once. This is the peak moment of fluid shift, and it happens right as you are trying to fall asleep and in the first hours of your sleep cycle, which is often exactly when the first bathroom trip occurs. So the question becomes, is there a way to trigger some of that fluid redistribution before you get into bed, while you are still awake, while you are still in control? The answer is yes. And this is the change that tends to surprise people the most because it is simple. It requires nothing you do not already have. And when done consistently, people often feel a difference within the first few nights. The approach is this. In the 30 to 60 minutes before you get into bed, you spend some time lying down with your legs elevated above the level of your heart. Not at a steep angle, not for hours, just a gentle elevation. Your legs raised up, maybe on a couple of pillows for 15 to 20 minutes. What this does is deliberately trigger the fluid redistribution before sleep. When your legs are elevated, the fluid that has pulled in them over the course of the day begins to drain back toward your core and your circulation. Your kidneys sense the shift. They begin processing that fluid. You will often feel a clear urge to urinate before you get into bed, and that is exactly what should happen. You are essentially moving the fluid processing event, the one your body was going to do while you slept to before you fall asleep. The result for many people is a meaningful reduction in the number of times they wake up during the night, because a significant portion of the fluid that would have triggered those wake-up signals has already been processed and cleared. When done consistently, you will typically notice a clear urge to go to the bathroom right before bed, less pressure or urgency during the night, and longer, more uninterrupted sleep cycles, especially in that critical first half of the night where your deepest and most restorative sleep occurs. Now, if you are sitting here thinking, okay, but is this actually safe? Should I just accept this? What if something is genuinely wrong? That is a fair and reasonable question, and I want to address it directly. There are symptoms that absolutely warrant a visit to your doctor. If you are experiencing pain with urination, blood in your urine, a sudden dramatic change in how often you go, or symptoms that feel new and different from what we have been discussing, please see someone. Do not use this video as a substitute for professional evaluation of symptoms that concern you. But for the large majority of people watching this, the experience we are talking about, gradually waking up more often at night over a period of years without other alarming symptoms, is not structural damage. It is not your bladder failing. It is not an inevitability of aging. It is mistiming. It is fluid mechanics. And those are things your body can actually respond to when you address them correctly. Let me take a moment here to explain the deeper reason why your body does this, because understanding it changes how you relate to the whole experience. Your body is not waking you up randomly. It is not malfunctioning. It is actually protecting you. When fluid redistributes back into your circulation at night, your cardiovascular system detects the increased volume. Your heart is working with more fluid coming through. The pressure rises, and your body, being the incredibly sophisticated system that it is, responds by signaling your kidneys to relieve that pressure by removing the excess fluid and excreting it as urine. If that did not happen, the pressure would continue to build. That would not be good. Your body is actively managing a fluid balance problem in real time while you sleep. So the waking up is not the enemy. It is the signal. And the one.